So our three speakers today are Cheryl D. Miller, who is in charge of the inQube program. This is a female digital accelerator network. Cheryl is founder of the Digital Leadership Institute.
Hi.
Our second speaker is Christine Roqueplo. She's the head of the French female incubator, Pionnieres. And
Hello.
Hello, Christine. And our third speaker is Sarita Johnston, who is manager of female entrepreneurship at Enterprise Ireland. She will present the Female Entrepreneurship Fund.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Sarita, can you hear us?
Hello, good morning. Can you see me?
Sarita, you need to turn on your webcam.
My webcam, okay. Sorry, 1 second.
We will start, I see that Cheryl is online already, so we will start with Cheryl. Actually, the other speakers can just turn off their webcam and mute themselves for the moment. Cheryl, you will have 10 minutes to present. So I'm going to turn off my webcam as well. So Cheryl, I'm going to put you as a presenter. You will be able to share your screen. Thanks. Cheryl, you're on. We can't hear you. Cheryl, we can't hear you. You need to connect your audio. Oh. Can you connect as we did last time? Can you connect your audio? Okay, so we can't hear you. Please connect your audio.
Test.
Yes,
Can you
good.
hear me? Okay, I had to switch over to the headphones. Okay, fine. So you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
And can you see my presentation?
Yes, perfect.
All right, so let me get started then. Good morning, everyone, and thank you to WeHubs and to Perrine for organizing this session. I'm flattered to be invited to be on the panel, and as she said, my name is Cheryl Miller, and I run an organization called the Digital Leadership Institute in Brussels, and part of our community that we are targeting by pursuing our mission, which is bridging the gender gap and the digital divide worldwide. One of the communities that we target are adult women with what we call esteem skills. That's entrepreneurship, STEM, the infamous science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and we add art in there to make STEM interesting and promote skills that are really at the crossroads of digital, creative, and entrepreneurial. So we have an initiative that is called the inQube, which is targeting, as I said, adult women, but actually we promote entrepreneurship even to young women, ardently advocate that they go into their own enterprises instead of pursuing traditional career paths. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what our rationale is behind promoting this area of entrepreneurship, and I'm sure that the other panelists today share the same outlook, and then talk a little bit about the inQube initiative and the other things we do as a Digital Leadership Institute. But the first thing that I want to say is when we talk about tech entrepreneurship, in particular when we talk about technology, I just like to kind of diffuse the discussion a bit and create some perspective. We see technology as the great equalizer, but the reality is that of the 7.3 billion people in the world, only about 1/3 of them are actually online, and the number of women is about 1.6 billion, or I'm sorry, 1.6 billion, and men is 1.8. But the important thing to note is that the uptake of technology among women is slower than men. So if we don't, I mean, Europe is a difficult example, but if we think about Africa and the other developing countries in the world, the rate of coming online for women is slower than it is for men. So when you start with a cleft where women are underrepresented to begin with, and you look towards the future, there is some startling and unpleasant news on the horizon if we don't actually get more girls and women into tech, and not only using technology, but actually as creators of technology. Just to underscore, the situation in Europe is not that great either. Only when we talk about the tech sector specifically, only 1 in 5 girls wants a career in STEM. Only 1 in 5 people in the ICT sector is a woman, and sometimes even less, depending on how high you go in the organization and in how technical the roles are. And yeah, more generally speaking, only 13% of board roles are held by women, and we don't even have statistics on tech starters per se, but I have informal data out of Belgium that says only 3% of all tech founders in Belgium are women. And this is despite the fact that we know for many years now that more women in leadership contributes to better decision making, more resonance with the user base, and it has a positive impact on the bottom line. These are just statistics. The first pyramid really describes what the situation is in ICT, computer studies, and tech research. This is all many statistics that you already know. About half of the people in the world are women. More than half of the university students are women, but you have far fewer who are studying STEM, even fewer who are studying computer science, and only 22% of professors in this area are women, and the higher you go in academia, the less representation you have of women. And it's the same in the business sector and in, as I said, in the ICT sector specifically. So what are the challenges that we have? Well, in tech startups specifically, some of the things that we know are that in general, recent information from McKinsey tells us that 80% of women are marginalized by corporate career paths. And this statistic is really significant because we've all heard about the, the alleged or the apparent glass ceiling. But what actually happens to these women who leave the traditional workplace? I call it the fed up fleeing 40-somethings phenomenon. What we see is that, in fact, many of them try to start their own enterprises. In Europe, 85% of single proprietorship enterprises are women-led, and 85% of women-led enterprises are women working on their own. Why is this number significant? Well, there are two significant numbers I mentioned there. One is the 80% of women who get marginalized by hierarchical traditional career paths. The other number is that 85%. We don't know exactly what impact these women who are fleeing from the corporate career paths actually have on the European economy in terms of gross domestic product and employment numbers. So how are those starters actually contributing to the European economy? As I say, you measure what you treasure. We don't really know what the opportunity is there, and the same with the opportunity of female tech founders. So because this is such a, and there are specific challenges for female starters themselves. So even when you go out there and try to get your own business going, women only receive 5% of venture capital funding. Most venture capital firms don't have female partners and never have had female partners. There's a significant underrepresentation of women as angel investors. And I always say that you won't have more female founders if you don't have the ecosystem that is supporting them. So that's very much what we're trying to do through the inQube, and I think the other members of the panel today and the WeHubs initiative itself are trying to improve this ecosystem, not only by stimulating female tech starters or female starters, but also by trying to rally financial support and the resources that these women and young women need to get their enterprises off the ground. So the kinds of things that we are undertaking are, as I said, in the inQube, under the inQube initiative, is really bringing women together. It's meant to be a hub and spoke initiative, but Brussels is our first location. So of course we're very keen to find partners in the rest of Europe that are doing similar things and want to cultivate the same kind of ecosystem as I think is kind of spontaneously popping up all over the world. But these women are not linking to each other and getting more advantages as a result of that. Under our inQube initiative, I was going to add the extra slide on this. We have about 500 to 600 members in our network. We regularly run digital and entrepreneurial skills initiatives to not only bring these women together, but to give them the digital and entrepreneurial skills they need to pursue their initiatives. And most recently, we have launched a flagship event within this community that we call Move It Forward. And this is the thing that I'd really like to share a little bit with you, because I think it really has the potential to create a lot more traction and kind of an engine for growth among women, and particularly among women tech starters, or even women who are on the fence about becoming tech starters. So we launched the first Move It Forward initiative in Brussels last month. It was targeting 30 women. We had about twice the number of subscriptions that for places that we had available. And this was about, it's a new product on the startup landscape, which was essentially one weekend from Saturday morning to Sunday evening, where the women spent half of their time learning in workshops, doing web development, smartphone development, even very interesting things like data visualization, and learning how to launch their projects in the cloud with Amazon Web Services. And we had a turnout of, as I say, 40 people, ages 14 to 54, and we gave them the mission of tackling cyber violence and promoting online safety for girls and women. So the idea of Move It Forward is really to have another initiative on this startup landscape that is uniquely targeting young and adult women. So as I said, we had teenage women and we had adult women as well, who are not, it is not about startup, it's not about, it's not called a hackathon or a maker fair, although it was in fact all of those things, but it was really about having the lowest threshold possible to encourage girls and women to take up entrepreneurship. And in the end, we had 8 projects, 3 who took home the top prizes. They will be incubated here with us for the coming months, and have access to not only kind of the startup ecosystem in Brussels, that's finance information and accounting and so forth, but they'll also have access to the digital skill set that they need to get their initiatives up and running. And that includes ongoing coursework in the inQube, and hopefully over time, that we can roll this out to other cities and do similar things that are connecting European women on topics that are relevant to them, and having them work together, actually, across different cities, across different communities, on important targets that are specifically, on important issues that are specifically targeting girls and women. So that's one of the initiatives inside the inQube platform that I really wanted to share with you, and quickly mention that we also do something similar targeting girls and STEM, or as we call it, esteem skills, and we'll be running something similar at the end of April this year in Brussels. And basically, that's it. I can tell you more about the rest of the work of the Digital Leadership Institute, but essentially we are tackling the digital divide and the gender gap worldwide, and we see that by doing these kinds of things that we're doing in the inQube and through the Move It Forward project, that we have a good chance of succeeding at that. I guess I can take questions now, or we can wait till later, that's fine too.
No, we are going to start the question and answer session now. Please, the audience, do type in your questions to Cheryl. Okay, we have a first question. Cheryl, are you able to read the question as well? What do you think about connecting potential CTOs and CEOs across Europe? Would that work in your opinion?
Is that question to a network of CTOs and CEOs? I see. Is that an idea for promoting female entrepreneurship in tech, or is that just more broadly? Because I can really see the need for both. There are obviously founders initiatives that are more broad-reaching, male and female, but one of the, okay, I see. Yeah, actually we're working on building a digital platform that is in order for women of all kinds of different profiles to become members of the inQube and to profile themselves as an investor or as a mentor or as a person with an idea who is looking for marketing support or technology support. So that's kind of the next phase of the inQube. I have to say that we've had many false starts and are now investigating a third platform. So that's, I think, the hardest part is building the community and the kind of rallying point. But I think the moment that you have that, and I think that's also why WeHubs is interesting and why the other panelists' work is interesting, is what we're lacking is kind of the network of networks. And once you have the network, then people can profile themselves in different ways and share that they're seeking for other kinds of profiles in different ways. And that's really what we'd like to see as the next step for the inQube, and to promote entrepreneurship across those different profiles. But a really key thing to note is that those women in tech are just not there. So I get a lot of requests for developers, for, CTOs. I think that's a great profile. But the fact is that, we don't have binders of women in technology. We have to really go back to the, way upstream and get the girls into tech, then school the young women and adult women with digital skills, and then only will we have the ones who can become, as we call it, digital leaders or, corporate technology officers. On the other hand, I don't think you need really in-depth tech skills per se to be a CTO, so I think it's also about giving opportunity where maybe the traditional thinking is otherwise.
Cheryl, we have a question from Monica. Can you elaborate a bit about the inclusion of the IT startups into the cultural and creative sector?
Yeah, as I said, we target STEAM skills, so STEM plus entrepreneurship and arts, and everything that we teach from the little girls to the adult women is very much about, as I said, this intersection between digital skill sets and creative skill sets. And I personally think that you know, we have just one initiative called Digital Muse that is specifically around cultivating digital and STEM skills for girls around creative endeavor. So through music, film, any kinds of media, specifically entertainment, which you know is a very vast subject. And that's because the internet and digital skills today actually offer us the opportunity to create unique original content, intellectual property that is our artistic endeavor. It also gives us, we also have the opportunity to deliver and distribute this unique content to the rest of the world, to market it, and then to manage it as a business, manage ourselves and our unique creative content as a business. So for me, this is not only, I mean, it is not at all an afterthought in terms of our strategy and our thinking about digital skills and entrepreneurship as an opportunity, but it is really a central thrust of the work that we do, is very much about creative and digital entrepreneurship.
Okay, we have further questions. Unfortunately, we have to switch to the second presentation.
Yes, we can maybe have more questions at the end when everyone
exactly.
has had a
If we have some time at the end, we will go back to the question, and we will try also to be a bit shorter in the answer. But thank you all, and you're also able to get in touch with the presenters in a one-to-one chat.
Sure, yeah.
We are going to ask Christine, our second speaker, to turn. Cheryl, you can turn your webcam off. Christine, I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna put you as a presenter.
Yes, hello.
Hello, Christine. So, Christine, you may share your screen with the audience. Christine is the head of the female incubator Paris Pionnieres in France.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and thank you very much, Perrine and WeHubs, for this opportunity to speak with all of you. And thank you, Cheryl, for a very interesting presentation. The Paris Pionnières is a little bit different because it is actually a business incubator. So we, at the beginning, we were targeted. Sorry, how is this? We're not a for-profit organization, so we're not an incubator where we take stakes into the startups. And we started operating 10 years ago with the notion that there were very, very few women in all the incubators in the Paris area. And the objective was to encourage them and give them an environment which was more adapted to their needs. So today, Paris Pionnières identifies and nurtures ambitious female tech founders. This is our very, very first objective. When we have identified them, we offer them counseling, mentoring, and all stages of a business environment, like in all incubators, I'd say. And we provide this environment specifically adapted to women. It is maybe more benevolent than other incubators, accelerators. Some key figures. Since 10 years, we have actually incubated around 200 startups. We think that we measured that it's created about 1,000 jobs. Sorry, we have a fairly high survival rate, and the raised funds are way. I mean, this statistics are a bit old, so it's now nearer to 30-40 million of euros, which have been raised by our startups. Here are some of our, which is very important, of the women who have launched their projects, which some of you may know, and very importantly, we have now a few role models which are starting to get into the environment, which is very, very important. and the next generation is coming, and they're all what we call as champions of the French tech, so they're all in tech, and the average age is much lower than it was before. I'd say it's around 30, before it was 38. So what is the reality today? We think that we know there was a Compass study which came out in June, I think, of 2015. In Paris, there are 21% of the startup founders are women. They're not all CEOs, but they're co-founders, and which is extremely high compared to some other areas of the globe. But it's 70% average in Europe, and I think there's a mistake there. It's probably 13% worldwide. But what we see is that there are less than 10% of them in the city's incubators. So there is a discrepancy, and that's one of the points that we want to work on. It's that the women actually are a bit intimidated by the incubators. They don't feel that it's the right place for them to be. They have to build big business plans to apply for incubators, and it's just a little bit too much for them. So our objective today is really work on them so that they can get the best help and the best actions from all the other incubators in the Paris area. A little bit of statistics. This is a bit old, since April to 2013. This is for France. It's not Europe today, but the major hurdle that we have to help them go all over is this self-confidence. They all feel that they have not enough skills, not enough time, not enough strength in them, because too many responsibilities, and the financial investment is too great. So these are it's really the first hurdle that we have to get them to go through, and then afterwards all the other things just sort of come into shape. We have launched in June of this year a new communication campaign, and the objective was to reach further into the community, especially in the tech community, to tell them what we were doing and how we were doing it. And the objective is to tell them that it's not something that you're born with. It's really something that you have to work with, that you can acquire all the skills, that you can go and get everything so that you can start your own startup. And it's really a question of, first of all, wanting to and having the will to do it. So today we offer 3 programs, which are go all the steps from the very, very, very early stages where we're trying to encourage women to get into entrepreneurship and into tech. And the second step is afterwards, once they've actually decided to start their startup, then we actually work with them to build this very, very first business plan, to have the proof of concept, and to then be able to apply to our incubator, which is what it is. I mean, we only have 25 to 30 places. So to make the whole thing very, very much more open, we try to make alliances with other incubators so that actually the women who go through our WUDI program, which is the proof of concept and building of the business plan, can go into any other incubator in the Paris area. It's to give you an idea today. In 2015, we started the Possible program, and we had 2 sessions. So it was approximately 40 women, 2 times. We had 2 sessions of 20 each. The WUDI is, I'll explain it, is more, takes more time, but we had 60 women last year which went through this program, and 30 of them entered our incubators. The others went to other incubators or started their business alone, but they had the tools and the skills to start them. That's what we felt. The possible program is really a normal bootcamp, which is what you always think is 3 days, very hard and intense. But I'd say that the originality of the program is that it has approximately half of it is coaching, leadership coaching, and the other half is the actual business tools and getting into business and how am I going to launch my business. So it's really that's the originality. It's not only a bootcamp just to start your business. It really works with you on your idea, and trying to make it much more innovative and gather everything that you have in the tech industry to get into into your idea, and to work on your leadership, which is how are you adapted to going into entrepreneurship? What are the things that you have to work on, and how do you actually pitch your project so that you actually have the way of getting your project through to everybody. On the other side, there's the entrepreneurship list in the toolbox. And another thing that we've thought that is very, very interesting for women is getting to work with a lean, what we call a lean entrepreneur, because it really makes you think to work with your resources. It starts with, if you have small resources, then start with your small resources and then slowly build your startup, which is something that is very well adapted to the female kind of thoughts and how they think about their enterprise. It helps them go beyond all the apprehensions that they would have for big responsibilities on the financial side, for example. The next program is the Woody, and this is our very specific program which we have been actually working on for the last 10 years. This is our very specificity of the Pionnieres. It is an acceleration program which lasts between 2 and 6 months, because it really depends at which point in the story of the startup they actually enter the program, and it's tailored to their needs. So it's very much individual counseling. They have 3 rendezvous, and the counselor that just goes through with them through all the steps so that they actually build a good business plan. And they have afterwards access to all our community, which is experts, workshops to increase their skills, access to peer mentoring, all the others who are in the incubator. We have an intranet portal, which is part of this sort of exchange platform between projects. And we actually encourage them to pitch, and they obviously can come into our local, in our offices, and have their own desk if they want to be in the community. The community today, with all the people, all the numbers that I gave you in 2015, is around 130 actually females, which are at some point in their startup development. And then afterwards, when you have gone through the Woody, you pitch your business plan to a committee, which is where there are financiers and also other business people who actually give them a feedback and give them the go to launch their startup. And then the incubation just starts. It's a very classical incubation program, at least for Paris. And the only thing that we need, that we really anchor at that point, is helping them to find financing, and the other thing is to develop all their business. So these are the 2 axes which we concentrate with them, and give them access to the community, to our community, and open to all the other communities. this is the team, and these are our sponsors. So thank you very much. If you have any other questions, I'm glad to answer.
Thank you, Christine. So please start typing in your question in the chat. I see that Cheryl has been answering some questions already, so that's really great. Christine, you had a few questions from Niam asking about the mentoring, I see. So what form this takes, and
actually, the mentoring is we have two mentors. The people who do the counseling part, the counseling, which are the people who follow the founder, the founder through the founding team, because they're not always alone. The founding team through all the steps is usually has an expertise, but can follow them on all the business problems that they can have, and give them access to other expertise which are more in depth, I guess. So this first link are expert marketers. We have marketers, we have lawyers, we have financial people. So, and they have their very own expertise, which they can give to the startups that they counsel and all the others. And then the next level of mentors is we usually target people who have startups. Who are CEOs, because that's the next level of peer exchanges between CEOs.
Okay, are you trying to involve also women mentors as much as possible, or?
We both women mentors, but we think that it is also good for them to have a confrontation with men. So because the world outside has as many men as women, so they have to be confronted to both. We have teams which are usually 50-50. Counselors are 50-50 men and women, and mentors the same thing.
Yeah. Christine, we have okay. Sorry, we have to be short in the answers.
Yes.
We have an interesting question from Geraldine asking if you are trying to, if you have had women entrepreneurs from abroad in your incubator, and if you are helping them to settle in Paris.
Yes. Well, we have had double nationality people, I guess, that are we've had Tunisian French and people who have a foot outside of France, I'd say. But we have this year we're participating to a French program which is very specific. It's for Paris, and it's funded by the BPI, which is the French innovation arm, I guess. And we have 3 startups which are staying here for a whole year, and which come, I think there are 2 from the US. No, 1 from the US, 1 from Canada, and 1 from Africa. Yes, mostly Africa. And it's extremely interesting for both to be able to work together and see how, for example, pitching is done in the US, and here it's very different. So it's a lot of learning and cross enrichment between all the startups. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions to Christine, or maybe you want to specify something? What about scaling up?
No, not.
We have a question.
Sorry, scaling up.
Scaling up for companies.
For the companies, or for us? For the companies?
For the companies, Geraldine is mentioning. I feel this is seen as more inaccessible. Am I mistaken?
Of scaling up the companies?
Yes.
Or
after
no, it's not inaccessible.
After the incubation phase, yeah.
No. I mean, that's exactly what we're trying to do with them. They can still, we really, that's what we work with them, is scaling up, and with on those 3 years, or any program, any incubation program is very much into that. I mean, it's to give them the opportunity to to scale up. On the business side, we have to be very much like all the other ecosystem. I mean, the environment, our ecosystem, environment ecosystem. What we give more to the women is that is just building this confidence, is telling them it's possible, and it's go ahead. And so that's our challenge, and the challenge for us is to do it with our startups and to get the more women getting involved, and then be able to work on that in other incubators, so that actually they have access to that ecosystem. I agree with Cheryl. I mean, the ecosystem is just not very friendly for them. So this is really the first step. The second step we're working on is, like Cheryl said, is everything that's around funding. We're putting up a demo day, a specific demo day, and we're working with business angels, women business angels, VCs, to actually bring more female into that environment and ecosystem also. So it's really getting them to be present in the ecosystem.
Great. We take a last question from Bev. Christine, would you agree that there is a challenge in finding enough good roles, good role model mentors for women who have not just started but grown, possibly existed their business successfully, and possibly existed their business successfully?
Yes, yes, it's a real challenge, because we've had the same thing for mentors, and it's been very hard to ask our women entrepreneurs to become mentors, because the first thing they tell you is they don't have time. I mean, they take so they think that they have to do this so well that they think that it's going to take them a lot of time. I mean, a man would just go in and say, "Oh, of course, great." So that's the problem with which I was saying about the confidence. It actually goes very, very far. We have another organization in France which is called Women Equity, which you might have heard of, and they target high growth companies which are more than 8 million euros. How to say that? Anyways, more that make more than 8 million euros in. So it's another bracket, and they have such a hard time actually identifying these women, because they don't come forward. I mean, you can just put an announcement, there's a prize, there's anything, they just don't come forward. So it's really that we have to work with, really build this confidence. Yes, they have to come they can be role models, and that they can make everything just change.
Okay, thank you, Christine. We are a bit over time, so we have to switch to our last speaker. No, this is great. Thanks for your input. Everybody, you're able to ask questions to Christine via the chat window. Christine, you may turn your webcam off.
Yeah, sure.
And your presentation. I'm going to invite our last speaker to join. This is Sarita Johnston from Enterprise Ireland.
Can you hear me?
Sorry, I don't seem to be able to. Just turn this off.
Wait, I'm gonna.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Sarita, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Can you turn your webcam on?
Yeah.
And share your screen? Right. Perfect. So this will be our last presentation for today. Sarita, we can see you.
Can you see me?
No, you just need to turn your webcam on. Perfect. Okay. You may start whenever you want.
Sorry, we're just sorting the technology here.
No problem. Now you may open your presentation in full screen.
Okay. Great.
Perfect.
Now, okay. Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much, Perrine, for asking me to speak today. Certainly, I found the information shared by both Cheryl and Maria really interesting, and certainly resonates with Enterprise Ireland and what our research in this whole area of female entrepreneurship has shown us, particularly since we started shining our light on the whole area of female entrepreneurship in 2012. So just to let you know a little bit about Enterprise Ireland. Enterprise Ireland is the industrial development agency in Ireland. Essentially, we work with Irish companies, and we work with Irish companies to help create jobs, and to help them, the way they create jobs is by selling on the international stage. We do this through not only our offices here in Ireland, but we also have 33 offices overseas. Currently, Enterprise Ireland works with 5,000 client companies, and our ambition to work with companies is to get them to $1 million+ turnover, to employ greater than 10 people, and to have significant exports. In terms of our mission, I won't spend too long on this, but Enterprise Ireland would be one of the largest seed funders internationally. Last year, in 2015, we invested 31 million in high potential startup companies, and that's not looking at the investment in scaling companies or in established companies, but solely in high potential startups, which makes us, I think, the largest seed investor in Europe. So in terms of the way we invest, obviously technology plays a significant role and a significant part in terms of our investments, and because that's where the new opportunities and the market opportunities exist. So I'm just going to go on to the 4 pillars of Enterprise Ireland strategy, and I'm just going to mention these to you briefly. We look at the whole area of start, we look at the whole area of innovation, scale, and anticipation. In 2012, we decided we would undertake some research as to why females were poorly represented when it came to high potential startups. So once again, what I mean by a high potential startup company, I mean a company that has the ability to deliver 1 million sales and at least 10 jobs, and also sell on the international stage. And the key challenges that we found at that particular point in time was that females felt that there was less access to finance. Also felt that there was they had lower levels of risk taking. They have lower levels of technical expertise, certainly lower levels of self-confidence, and I think that resonates with what Maria has certainly said in terms of her mentoring and counselling in her incubator. There was also a shortage of female networking opportunities, and also the visibility of role models has been particularly important. In 2012, we found that men were twice as likely to start a business than a female, and in 2011, only 7% of Enterprise Ireland's investments in high potential companies were in female-led companies. So, after we undertook the research, like any good business, we decided we would come up with dedicated female responses. We came up with female dedicated financial programs, which we call our Competitive Start Fund program, where we invest 50k for 10% equity in straight up funds for early stage concepts. We also support through dedicated female development programs, and I'll go through those in a little bit more detail later on. And we also support and assist the development of networks and sponsorship of key events. So, Enterprise Ireland co-sponsors and works with female development programs. Once again, these are not incubators. We do have incubators in Ireland. The NDRC, as you see there, would be our National Digital Research Incubator. But we found that the area that we needed to address was in the whole area of female development. And so we decided we would fund development programs. Going for Growth is a specific program where females would have 2 years' revenue, and they would come together on a monthly basis over the period of 6 months, and there would be a lead, an experienced entrepreneur that would hold those roundtable meetings with those females, and they would learn from each other. Once again, the DCU Rhine Academy, Dublin City University Rhine Academy, has its female propeller program. Co-op Institute of Technology specifically is looking at the whole area of women in employment, and trying to assist those females that have an idea in the area of STEM to navigate through their idea and their concept stage. So, networks and sponsorship. Aside from the financial supports and the identification of networking opportunities was shown to us as being particularly important. So Enterprise Ireland has supported and funded a number of Irish influential networking and sponsorship opportunities. The Image magazine there, as you see, would be our equivalent, and the Tackler would be our equivalent to Vogue. Also, we would support InspireFest, which is all about the whole area of promoting females in the area of STEM, and would be an international conference held every year. And Network Ireland would work at a more regional basis with females that are in business and want to scale their businesses. And also, we would have supported our first ever National Digital Week. We also are running for our second year this year our International Business Women's Conference in Tralee, and we will have a number of keynote speakers at that particular event. The whole importance of networks and sponsorship is that we shine a light, and we know that females that know another entrepreneur are 5 times more likely to start their own business compared to men. And so by shining a light on sponsors and on role models, it has been shown to us as particularly important. Female-only competitive financial funds. The purpose of the Competitive Start Fund is to accelerate the growth of startup companies that we feel have the capability to grow in global markets. Essentially, that fund, we run a number of calls every year. In 2016, we will be running 2 specific female-only calls. In 2015, we had 38 females that were successful and that won 50K. On average, females we have found wait for the female-only calls, even though Enterprise Ireland runs general calls and sector-specific calls on an ongoing basis, on a monthly basis during the year. We have found through our research that females seem to wait and think they're going to be more successful in female-only calls, which results in the fact that we have higher number, and it's a more competitive call than the other general calls. In 2015, we invested 1.9 million in Competitive Start Fund. Once again, it's not just a financial fund, but it's 50K investment, but it's also matched with mentor support. And when I mention it's mentor support, we assign a dedicated and experienced mentor to those early stage companies, and they would visit and meet with those CEOs for 10 visits to discuss their key challenges and what their milestones and objectives are over the course of the 12 to 24 month period. So since 2012, we have supported, in terms of Competitive Start Funds, we have supported 114 female-led competitive CEO-founded projects. Our Ambitious Women program has been extremely successful. In 2015, Enterprise Ireland has seen the increase from 7% that I mentioned in 2011 to over 28% of its overall investment, not only in Competitive Start Fund, but also in high potential startup investment. So in total, we invested in 61 female-led companies in 2015. this is a graph of the growth since we started shining a light on the whole area of female entrepreneurship. And we, as I mentioned previously, we have grown from 7% to over 28% in 2015, a significant achievement, and certainly amongst international best practice. I think New York would be the only, and Australia would possibly be ahead of Ireland in terms of the acceleration in female-led businesses. So what have our learnings been? Well, once again, we have found that females tend to only apply for female-only funds, and that's something which we need to address. The whole area of STEM, we know that 78% of those in third level education studying STEM subjects are male, whereas only 22% are female. I spoke at a second level, which is our secondary school event last Friday, and I spoke to 15 and 16-year-olds, and I asked them, what their interest was in terms of their careers, and the majority of them did not consider starting their own business as a potential career, and these are all female students, which was surprising, which goes to show that that the whole area of influencing in STEM starts not only at a national school, but it starts at very early education, but more importantly starts in the home in terms of opening up a female's minds in terms of their options and the opportunities there are in STEM. So that's my last slide. I have done Charlie's Angel slides to show that we have made significant improvements, and we continue to make more improvements as we go forward. Enterprise Ireland is dedicated and realises that we need to shine a light, and we need to recognise the untapped potential amongst females. The international research shows that female-led businesses make better decisions, have higher survival and success rates, and also, more importantly, have higher returns for shareholders. So it doesn't just make gender diversity sense that we actually include women. It makes economic sense that we must open up entrepreneurship to the female population.
Thank you, Sarita, for your great input and presentation. We have a few minutes left for a few questions from our audience. I see that it's very great. Attendees are already exchanging in the chat about collaboration opportunities. Monica was asking if there is a chance to get your support for startups which did not make it into the 10 selected company for the Female Competitive Startup Fund, because the competition is very high there.
So the question was again, Irene, that those that are not successful?
Yes.
Okay, so what we have found is that because we run competitive start funds on an ongoing basis, that on average it takes 3 or 4 applications in order to be successful. So after each call, those that are not successful get feedback in terms of where they fell down and what their key weaknesses were, and then they work on those and address those before they make another application.
Okay. Can female social entrepreneurs from abroad, from Europe, get your support?
The whole area of female social entrepreneurship is an evolving area, and an area that Enterprise Ireland is certainly interested in. The most important thing to remember is that we have to invest in businesses. And if that social entrepreneurship applies to a business and has the capability to create 10 jobs and have sales of 1 million and exports, yes, of course, but they would have to meet those criteria in order for us to be able to work with them as an agency. But we also, and it's important to note, we also run a number of overseas calls as well. And in 2016, we will be running 2 overseas specific calls to facilitate overseas entrepreneurs that want to come and establish and start up their businesses in Ireland.
Would you be looking for collaboration with other incubators or business organizations in Europe?
So Enterprise Ireland, the one way that we have made such great strides in the whole area of female entrepreneurship is our way, the fact that we have collaborated with a number of different partners. We recognise as an agency we cannot do it alone. We recognise that there are other providers that are more specialised in certain areas than we are, and we align ourselves with those sponsors and those providers in order to actually make the numbers work.
Okay, what is your experience with working with mentors? Is it, do you have a network, a pool of mentors in Ireland, or?
Yeah. So from a mentor perspective, Enterprise Ireland has a database of over 550 mentors, and so we would have a very large database and a large pool to draw on. The one key thing about those mentors is that they are normally very experienced. They're normally ex-chief executives that have maybe retired from business and want to give back of their time, as opposed to just doing consultancy. These guys and these women want to add value and want to spend time accelerating and working with new business.
Okay, and would it, in your views, would it make sense to share some kind of a database with other incubators in Europe to share mentors? It's not something you're looking for?
Well, in terms of mentors, certainly because of the fact that our clients are Irish-based, it's important that our mentors are available to them, and it's something that we could have a conversation about. We certainly have a manager of our mentorship program in terms of whether we could do remote mentoring. I'm not too sure, and once again, Enterprise Ireland is very open to looking at new ways of working with client companies. And if that's something that could be effective, it's something that we would look at.
Okay. I have a question from Virginie asking if you need young mentors. High tech is moving so fast.
Oh, probably young mentors are possibly as and more important than the older mentor, and that's not to be discrimination against any mentor of any age. I think it's important to remember the one thing that we have found through our mentors and our networks is that females work very well with other females and are more inclined to share with other females, and possibly, rightly or wrongly, are potentially less inclined to share their experiences and their lack of confidence with a male party. So, a dynamic young female mentor that can add value, absolutely, we're very much open to working with.
Okay, well, our session is coming to an end, so if you have last questions for Sarita, please type in the chat quickly. I would like to thank our 3 speakers today. Please, I'm going to share with you if you want to add something, Sarita, please do it during the last minute.
Well, what I would say is I think Enterprise Ireland has led the way in terms of its blended ranges of supports, and we have found that it's not just financial, but it's around the whole area of blended supports, developmental supports, females working with females, and also shining a light on your models that have made a difference. And I think, we have increased our numbers, and we now need to look at females scaling their business opportunities.
Okay, great. So we have to come to an end, unfortunately. Thank you to the 3 of you for your great support, your great input. Thank you to all the attendees for joining the session. I really hope you enjoyed this first webinar. WeHubs will organize another webinar shortly. It will focus on business mentoring, and the exact date will be announced in the next weeks. In the meantime, do not hesitate to visit our website and learn about our activities. And we would also very much appreciate some feedback on your part on the event, since it's the first one, in order to make it more useful for you. So please do not hesitate to send me an email or to type in the chat what kind of topic you would be interested in. There is also an online survey. Please do scan it with your mobile or answer it online via the link, and so where you can give us some feedback. Well, I wish you all a very nice day, and thank you so much for joining.